Good evening, everybody. My name is Spencer, for those that maybe seeing us on channels they're not used to seeing, and I am with the amazing Kirsty Logan. So for those that don't know much about myself, I'll do a quick introduction before. It's all about Kirsty, to be fair, but just a little bit of introduction. As you can see, I'm Spencer Thompson, time wealth creator, a mentor to thousands of me's. Me's being multiple income individuals. And with half the UK population, working population that is, now with a secondary income stream, that has dramatically risen, and that's because of the cost of living. In fact, 5 million people had a secondary income stream in 2017, but by the end of 2025, they reckon 25 million. So I'm going to be doing a series of interviews, and we're starting tonight with Kirsty. Now, a little bit of background to Kirsty is she's been with the same employer for 20 years next week. Wow, that is truly incredible. But what's even more incredible is she's a single mom to the fabulous Ewan. So Ewan, you get a little fabulous shout out for that as well. And she's also one of the rock stars within our team. So I'm going to ask her a series of just 5 questions tonight. And if she does well, we might invite her back next week as well. So Kirsty, you're a multiple income individual. You've got your day job, or you actually work different shifts, and you can maybe elaborate on that. But what was happening in your life when you started your journey on having a secondary income stream?
Well, it was a really interesting time, Spencer, because it was lockdown. So times were different for absolutely everybody. Not so much for me, because my role at the time was classed as an essential worker. So while I was watching everybody enjoying that wonderful summer that we had, and most of my airport colleagues were on furlough, I was not. I was at work every day, which was pretty difficult. Ewan was 9, schools were closed, we were homeschooling. Yeah, it was a really difficult time, on top of all the other things that single parents have to do, all parents have to do, but it's a wee bit magnified for single parents. So there's all the, so we were homeschooling, there's childcare that chucked in there, there's full-time shifts, there's life admin, there's all the different activities and things they had to do, but know that a lot of that was going on. But it was a busy time, and I just felt like back then, not so much now, but back then my brain was really busy all the time, and I had loads of tabs open all the time and not necessarily in control of any of them. And at that time, there was no furlough for my team whatsoever. So I knew from the get-go that I was going to be in work every day, which is probably a bit of a saviour actually, because it just made me feel a little bit more secure in my job. But it also had me thinking, how can I simplify my life? And that was when a chap from my old job from years ago came along, who I'd kept in touch with through social media, and offered me a way to simplify some of my life admin. I thought, who wouldn't want to do that? So I had a little look. So he came along, he showed me this way to consolidate things and just make things easier, and saved me about £70 a month in the meantime. So I was pretty much thinking to myself, why isn't everybody doing this? Why? I don't understand how people don't know about this. So I went away off and I was telling everybody about it, and Stuart said to me, you know, Kirsty, you could probably help a lot of people by doing this in your spare time. And of course I laughed, because I'm a single parent, and I've always been a single parent since Ewan was a baby. Spare time isn't something that you probably even have spelled back then, far less actually be able to use. So yeah, I kind of said, I didn't write it off, because I thought it was a brilliant idea. I loved the concept, and it had really made my life easier and saved me a bit of money. So he followed up with me just to see how things were going and how I was experiencing things, and it was loads of good feedback. I said to him I was really pleased with his service, and I thought that the customer service was really good. And he said it to me again, you know, how would you feel about following what I do and coming and doing this with me? And again I said, no, it's just not the right time for me. So I think, where was my life at the time? I had a good job, I had a decent income, I had some debts which I was managing, I wasn't worrying about them, quite a big mortgage, But like everybody else, I was in the cost of living crisis like everyone else, not really knowing what was going to happen with everybody's jobs. And not that much disposable income at the end of the month. And while it's good not to have to worry about bills, I didn't have the life that I wanted. So I gave him a bit of time on the third time to show me what the earnings would be like, because I thought I'm not writing it off completely, but I'm not paying attention to that. And he showed me the upfront income and what it could, how do we think about what that difference that would make? But it wasn't until he showed me what the recurring income could look like in the future and how that could potentially safeguard my retirement and add into my pension, and that got my brain going. And I started thinking, could I retire early? Could I pay off my mortgage early? Could I have an extra holiday every year? Which very quickly made me rethink how much spare time I had. And I found some spare time. When I saw that opportunity, it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. And I've got to admit, it does sound too good to be true. It absolutely did. But I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I never had anything to lose, really. There was no massive investment. The only thing I had to invest was a wee bit of time, and he showed me, he linked arms with me, showed me what to do. All I had to do was copy him and do what he was doing and have a bit of belief in myself. So, yeah, I went for it. And then very, very shortly after that, I was approached by, overall, my whole team were approached by the management of the airport, and we'd gone into a second lockdown. Things weren't improving any. Nobody was still being able to buy any. We'd had a small period where there'd been a bit of air travel, but we're right back into the throes of it again. And like any business, they approached us and said, okay, so you guys are essential workers, but we're going to cut down on the hours that you're working. And he threw it out to the team to make a decision about who was going to take the cut. And I was nobody wanted to do it. Nobody wanted to take a cut in wages. And, we felt like we've worked all the way through this. How dare you throw this at us?
Yeah.
I was able to put my hand up and say, I'll take one for the team. Because I've now got a way that I can still continue to earn money. Give me some time and I'll make some more money somewhere else. And the airport were very, very supportive of people having a second income, because by that time we'd started to see people getting made redundant. So they were very supportive of, feather your nest, make sure that you've got something that you can fall back on, because we can't promise your jobs anymore. So they were very encouraging of it. And I took on for the team and took all of the furlough hours that were on offer, and thought I can commit my time to doing something else but still keep my job. And many of my friends will say even now that if I fell out a window, I would go up the way, because they reckon I'm a really, really lucky person. But I didn't see that as luck at all. I saw it as digging my well before I was thirsty. I saw an opportunity. It probably wasn't even the reason why I did it. I was just curious. But I was so glad I did, because it gave me a safety net and options. It gave me options and opened loads of doors for me to be able to do something else and earn in another way. And I could see the state the country was in, and the state that the employers were in, and people losing their jobs left, right and centre. So took some action and went to work. And that's it, really. That's where I was, and that's how it worked out for me in the first wee while.
Brilliant. So much to unpack amongst all of that. From you were shown not just once but 3 times, and obviously Stuart could see in you what I now know, because I have the privilege of working with you. The extra £850 a year or whatever that works out to be savings, I'm sure that was particularly useful just on the savings, never mind the earning side of things there as well. But the fact you were able to indirectly help others, via your work, that they were in there so they weren't feeling the pinch and you could go and do something else. And another thing you said there about you falling out the window and going upwards, people call that luck. L-U-C-K, labour under correct knowledge. You knew that you could do something that, as you say, would change right now, but also your future as well. Amazing. So much there to unpack. So in terms of when you kind of got started, you've alluded to it a little bit. So from an emotional point of view, your decision to join, was it more based on fear? Was it ambition? Was it hope? What was the right, I'm going to do this?
There was a fair bit of curiosity, because I'll be honest, I kind of wanted to prove Stuart wrong and say, it was too good to be true. Actually, I couldn't, because it turned out to be absolutely amazing and more than I could ever have imagined. But I'd say the main leading emotion for me was probably, would you call it an emotion? Responsibility. Responsibility for Ewan.
Sure.
Ewan's dad doesn't contribute financially at all in any way, so all that responsibility is on me to make sure that he's fed, that he's clothed, he's got everything that he needs, that he's got a roof over his head, that we've got a secure place to live. So I bear that responsibility pretty heavily, not just for those things, but also because as a kid we never had much growing up. I mean, we didn't want for anything, but that was the way it was for me and most of my friends back then. It was just different times, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I just felt like if Ewan was going to feel like that, it wasn't going to be because I was on my own. Okay. There was no way I was going to have him having less than a household that had two parents. And I just felt, even there was a few things have been said to me through my life that have just made me even more determined to make sure that I will provide everything that he needs. But I remember very clearly, and it's weird because I don't have very many memories from school or anything like that, but I remember I must have been in third or fourth year, and I remember watching some of the fifth years driving in and parking their car at the school. And back then that was unheard of because people just didn't have that kind of money. And I remember wondering, what's that like? Not driving your car into school, but what must it be like to walk out of your house in the morning and jump in a car and drive it to school because your parents have got enough money to provide that for you? What must that be like?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I want to be massively rich or to give Ewan stuff that he hasn't worked for, because he's got a very strong work ethic and I've drilled that into him.
Brilliant.
But I just don't want him to have to worry about it, and I don't want him to think that he can't have the lifestyle that his friends have got because it's just his mum. If that makes any sense. But that's where it came from for me, was that I can not only secure things for the future to make sure that I've got an income coming in, whether I work or whether I don't, but also right now, I can take him on an extra holiday, or I don't have to say no to the peri trainers, or he never has to see me worrying about it.
Sure. Amazing. It's amazing how your own personal experiences in the past has driven you to move forward. As you say, it's not necessarily that you had a terrible upbringing, far from it, I'm sure, but it was like just to maybe get to that next level and not go backwards, so to speak, in terms of how you perceive things, so that you can have those options to move forward. It's amazing that you've instilled that work ethic in them, because there's no point in giving people something without them realizing there's an element of work involved in that.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So obviously everything's been completely plain sailing since you've come in, because you've done amazing. There's no getting away from that. So how did your family and friends react when you told them that you were involved in this? I'm assuming they were all massively supportive and were your complete, okay, maybe not then.
No.
Okay, so tell me.
My family were dubious. Just to set the scene, my family are rule followers. Most of them are rule followers. I'm the black sheep. I'm the one that'll take the risk. I'm the one that'll say, what about if you've done that? Or I wouldn't say I'm a stand on the ledge risk taker, but if I can see something that could potentially make a difference and potentially be quite good, I'm not scared to take that risk. And that's, I think, where the luck thing comes from. People say if you fell out a window or go up the way, it's not the case. It's just the fact that the other people are scared to lean out the window. Yeah. So I think that's where my family were coming from, was not so much what's she doing now, because I never had a lot of different jobs or anything like that, or done cookie things. But, I'm the one in the family that left everything at 30 and went away to the other side of the world to get a different job and take no even risk. I had nothing to lose back then. And for me with this, it wasn't about having anything to lose, it was having everything to gain, and what's the worst thing that could happen. And my younger sister sent me something, I wish I'd kept it handy. She sent me something the other day, I'm wondering where it is. And it's a plaque for the wall, and it says, what's the best that could happen? And she said that to me because that's how my brain works. So that was the way I was looking at it. My family kind of thought, right, okay, that sounds a bit too good to be true. Same as I did at the beginning. But now they've seen the holidays that I've been on, the car that I've got sitting at the front door, the fact that I'm now part-time in my full-time role, and I've been able to change my role into something I enjoy more. All that proof is there that actually this was a tiny risk, massively worth taking. My friends were very supportive, I must say, from the very beginning. They were intrigued, they were curious, a bit like me, like, what is this? Some of them joined my team just to see what it was about. And some of my family now still don't get it, but that's all right. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I suppose not everyone has to understand how everything works, do they? I mean, like, I have no idea how electricity works, but I know it's dark, I switch a light on and it just lights the room up. That's just the way it works. You don't need to necessarily know how everything works. You just, as you said, what's the downside and what's the upside, and how much of a risk is the downside and how much is the potential upside, and then decide to go for it. You've kind of already alluded to this a little bit, but when you joined, what was it security? Was it flexibility? Was it purpose? What was your main reason for joining, would you say?
It was a curiosity, and I could see quite early I was digging in, and I was trying to find out everything and what everybody else was doing and what were they achieving and what was possible. And I could see it, and I was thinking, I wonder if I could do that. But actually what's happened is I've kind of got there in little stages and not even realised that actually the people that I was watching at the beginning is where I am sitting now. I mean, there's still a long way that I still want to go, but it's a difficult one because the reasons that I do it now are very different from why I joined at the beginning. So that's a really difficult one to put my finger on.
What would you say your reasons are now then, out of curiosity? Now you've been in for a while, you can see things differently than you did at the beginning. What's your reasons now then?
The reasons now are time freedom for me. That's the biggest thing for me, is time freedom, because it's not, money's important, but it's what you do with money that matters. And I would like to have, since I've started on this business, the time that it's given me back is much more valuable than any of the money that it could possibly, or any of the benefits and incentives that it could ever have brought me. It's the time that I'm now here when Ewan comes in for school, when he goes out in the morning, and he doesn't want to be going away. He loves staying with my parents, but he doesn't want to stay there. He wants to be in his own bed. So to be able to give him that, and be able to be at the football training, at the games on a Sunday. I'm only working part-time now. I'm hardly ever there, much to my colleagues' disgust. But the time it's given me back is unbelievable. So what I hope to achieve now is more of that.
Okay. So the ability to, and I know this, with you working different shifts, that Ewan often had to spend nights not in his own bed. You've kind of alluded to that there, and the fact that he no longer has that being kind of passed from pillar to post type situation. That was really important to you, but you can see equally a future where you have way more time freedom to do significantly more. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What just started this, just a little side hustle, as some people call it, or whatever they want to call it as such. You can see a greater future. Brilliant. Take you back to the beginning, okay? Mm-hmm. What was your biggest worry or limiting belief at the beginning?
It was probably other people's opinions.
Okay.
Everybody else had to say about it. And right at the very beginning, probably doubting my own knowledge of what I was doing.
Okay.
Because all I really knew was how it felt to be a customer and be looked after by one of these people, and how easy it was. And it wasn't until I was a little bit further down the line that I thought, actually, all I have to do is duplicate what Stuart's done.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know all of that stuff. He doesn't need to know all of that stuff because it's all provided there for us. So I guess it was myself, wondering myself whether I would have the ability to learn enough to be able to be really good at it. Sure. But actually what you have to learn isn't really all that much because it's all there for us. And it's about helping people. It's not about having an infinite product knowledge. It's about helping people to make things simpler for them and put a bit of money back in their pocket. And once I realised that, I've wondered what on earth I was worrying about that for.
It's funny, isn't it, how everyone's exactly the same. We have these seeds of doubt in our mind that we put in, which is unfounded because, as you said, with respect to Stuart, he had just followed a proven system where the support was there to help him help you. So if you're just duplicating that, you're going to get exactly the same again. Yet we want to make things more complicated for ourselves to justify sometimes our own thoughts.
Yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, Kirsty, I was hoping to just be on for 15 minutes, but you have absolutely, as you do everything, you over deliver. So we've been on for just over 20 minutes. So if it's okay with you, what I'd like to do is ask you to come back again and we'll carry on this conversation. And the sort of things I want to talk through is the breakthroughs that you've had, your results, your lessons, your legacy. So for all of those that have tuned in, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever it is, come back in, make sure you subscribe, you follow Kirsty, go find her on the social medias as well. Kirsty Logan, you cannot miss her. She's an absolute rock star, as I said earlier on. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Kirsty. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks, Nathan.
Take care.